Good to have good to have you join us again on another episode of 360 View. All the news, all the sides. Olufemi Motayo here, bringing you the latest in the news. And the news this time is about the judgment made yesterday at a court in Ilorin. That's the High Court sitting in Ilorin, Kwara State, presided over by Justice Ibrahim Yusuf, has sentenced two students, Abdulazeez Ismail and Ajala Oluwatimileyin, to death. Sentenced those two students to death for the murder of a 300 level uh, undergraduate of the University of Ilorin, Blessing Olajide. So, by calculation, appears Blessing Olajide was a student like themselves in the same university, University of Ilorin. So, um, those two young men, Abdulazeez and Timileyin, have been sentenced to death. Olajide Blessing was raped and killed by the two guys, last year, June 2nd, 2001, at her sister's house in the Tanke area of Ilorin, Kwara State. Justice Yusuf also sentenced another student, Oyeyemi Omogbolahan, to life imprisonment. So that's the accomplice. Then, two siblings, Abdulkarim Shuaib, the one they call also known as Easy, and Karim Rashid Rashwood, were sentenced to 3 years imprisonment each for withdrawing money from the GTB account, that's Guarantee Trust Bank account, of the late Blessing a few days after she was killed. Three others, Abdulateef, Abdurrahman, Daud Adebayo, and Akandiola Doja, were discharged and acquitted by the court. So just look at the young lady. Uh, does she deserve to be raped to death? So when we see judgment like this, it makes a lot of sense to really consider the implication, the far-reaching implication of it. You know, why delivering the judgment on 11 count of conspiracy? So these are the counts now: conspiracy, armed robbery, rape, culpable homicide, and stealing of funds. You know, those are the accused. Those are the counts preferred against eight accused persons. Justice Yusuf found the three students guilty of conspiracy, rape, and murder of Blessing Olajide, while two other telephone repairers who helped to unlock her telephone and assisted in the withdrawal of money from her account were convicted for conspiracy and stealing. The things that people do. These are students, and they are able to, get to the point of not just robbing the young lady, they raped her, and they killed her. And then they are able to, maybe they couldn't get enough cash from her. They were able to unlock her phone and then make withdrawals from her account days after her death. Man, humanity to man. So, but, that's why we have laws. The law is the one that is a leveler, that's supposed to be a leveler, so that the people who do the crime should be able to, pay do the time also. So the judge, Justice Yusuf, said 13 people testify for the prosecution, while 16 witnesses, including the accused persons, were called to testify for their defendant. So the prosecution proved his case beyond reasonable doubt. They proved the case that these are the people who did this. Justice Yusuf said, while the prosecution established the ingredients of conspiracy and armed robbery against the first three accused persons, it proved beyond reasonable doubt that injury was inflicted on the deceased and she was raped to death. So he made this announcement. I direct that Abdulazeez Ismail and Ajala Moses Oluwatimileyin be hanged by the neck until they are pronounced dead. That's his pronouncement yesterday. The prosecution with counsel and former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Salman Jawondo, who spoke to journalists after this session, said the irony of it all is that all those involved are young men of 19 to 23. Is quite unfortunate, and that shows what we are that we have to work on our court on our future in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a problem. There's a problem. If we don't treat this problem as a society, it's going to escalate. If you have girls as sisters or as daughters, you should be worried, because this is not as should be. In fact, um, there's an amnesty report last year. I talked about the rape culture in Nigeria, and the big headline was that few people get justice in Nigeria's rape crisis. So, without any doubt, there's a rape crisis in the country, and we cannot treat it with kid gloves. So it gives a lot of, and that's why we have some states that are now prosecuting it, especially in Lagos. If you are convicted, if you are found for any, or any issue or domestic violence, you'll be severely dealt with. There's a case of a doctor, a popular doctor, who is who raped his wife's niece. He's behind bars now, and I think he has been sentenced to 15 years in prison. So in this case, I think the reason why these two guys have been sentenced to death is because in their own case, there's also homicide involved. That is, the young lady died in the process. And again, these are young boys from 19 to 23. At the time when they should be thinking of what to do with, how to improve society, what to do with their lives. This is what we get. And there's so the earlier other state copy Lagos that is fighting this crisis. I don't know of other state. I think also there's a state that has just launched a sexual assault referral center. That's a Cross River State. Cross River State has also done that. I think it should be a nationwide thing, whereby all the states will have laws in place. Whoever cannot keep themselves and think that they cannot, if you want to have relationship with the woman, you have to seek her consent. So in this case, they didn't just seek her consent, they came to rob the young lady. In the process of robbing her, they raped her and they killed her. It's so unfortunate and it's despicable. So I am not an advocate for death sentence, but in this case, the law has to take its course. We must see to the end of it that these young men, they must not go free, because what usually happen is that now that the judge has made a sentence that they should be hanged, many they will now need the governor's consent. That is, there has to be a governor's approval for execution. But from experience, many governors in Nigeria don't usually sign this death sentence. So what happens is that you now find that there's so much congestion in the in all the prisons across the country. So we need to decongest the prison. That's another thing that needs to happen. So I totally support the judgment that has been placed. I don't support death sentence, but if that's what it has to be, it has to be. We must show a deterrent. We must show this kind of thing so that it can prove as a deterrent to others. Every other young person, whoever you are, whether old or young, that is thinking evil, that is thinking of doing such a thing to another human being, should be ready to face the consequence. So at least, there's a bit of justice for Blessing Olajide. This young lady, she has plans for her life, but those plans have been cut short by people who were just hungry and wicked and terminated their life unnecessarily. Again, I don't know what you think about it, but I'd like to hear your opinion also. Please comment and subscribe as you would. Thank you for watching and listening again, and see you next time.